Well, Haley, super excited for you to join in their 20s today to talk about your professional journey and, of course, why you think more 20 somethings need to be involved or at least knowledgeable about angel investing. Let's get started with the beginning. I'd love to really bring it back and talk about, what first and when did you first hear about venture?
Yeah, that might be a long answer. I haven't been aware of venture capital for that long. I probably learned about it through my time working at Animals, the last company I was at. We're a B2B SaaS content marketing company.
Mhm.
And when I joined, the onboarding drip contained one of Paul Graham's famous essays. I think it was Startup Equals Growth back from 2012. I
Yep.
was like, who is Paul Graham? What is growth? Like what's happening? And I remember leaving that drip in my inbox for the first like 2 years. I was at Animals in 2018 and coming back to it frequently just to learn more about the foundational concepts of SaaS and also venture capital. But it was really through working for the agency and working with so many venture backed businesses that I started having a broader concept of venture. I think prior to that, the company I was at before, Brazen, an event marketing and recruitment marketing company,
Mhm.
we were venture backed, but I had so little to do with the board of directors that would come in every quarter. I didn't really have any idea.
So, looking at your time with Animals, I understand you started working there in 2018 as the director of customer operations. Working at a fast-paced and quickly growing company like that, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was awesome. And it kind of it happened organically. I think Steve Jobs talks a lot about connecting the dots looking backwards. And I think about
Mhm.
that a lot with my short career journey so far. I'd worked for the founder of Animals in 2015. That's kind of when I got into tech initially. He ran a company called I'd Done This. We're like a 5-person productivity startup. I came in leading customer success. And in like 2 months, I'd learned more than I had in the previous 1 to 2 years. And then he sold the company, so I had to leave. But I ended up getting an email in 2018 when I was thinking about what was next, when I was kind of like in customer success and product management and customer support and all these different things. And I joined Animals at that time. And I asked him, like, I don't have a job description. Like, you often don't necessarily at like a very early stage startup. I don't really know what my goals are. Like, what do you want me to do? And he was like, well, just reduce churn enough to pay for your salary. And I was like, I don't even know what that means, but okay, cool. Like, let's do it. So in that first year, Devin, our now CEO, who came from Help Scout, and I really worked together to understand what foundational elements were missing and how we could get everyone kind of aligned on customer success and moving things forward. So I guess to your question about what that experience was like, it was fast, it was fun, it was filled with imposter syndrome. I think my first year at the company, I just like, I thought I sucked like pretty hardcore. I felt like I was failing all the time.
Mm.
Whenever a customer did churn or things didn't work out. We worked with a lot of founders with super high expectations that maybe hadn't achieved product market fit yet, or they wanted to be super hands on with everything because they were still at that nascent stage of their startup. So the expectations were high, the pressure was high. Our founder was kind of looking over our shoulders all the time. And I remember doing my self-assessment after that first year and like being ready to just give myself a hard time, like hand in my resignation or whatever. And I looked back at the year and realized, wow, like we implemented development levels, there are clear career tracks for our team. We grew the team, we more than doubled. We did
Wow.
reduce churn. We've started to build an upsell program. So I think in just having that moment of reflection and getting to look back a year in, that kind of gave me the confidence to keep moving forward, to keep leveling up. And I was really lucky to have those opportunities thanks to our team and our customers.
Yeah, your story about reducing churn before you knew what churn was really made me laugh because, startups move fast. And I always tell young people, if you're looking to get involved in a startup, you don't have to have all the answers, when you start. The whole point of joining a startup is to join an environment that's moving quickly. You're going to be able to learn a lot in a short period of time as
Oh my
well.
gosh,
And
totally.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity. So before we then pivot to your time, angel investing and advice there, I, of course, want to talk about your journey with Hustle Fund. Eric was a guest on In Their 20s a few months back. And of course, as I mentioned, speaking with Elizabeth on my other podcast tomorrow, you guys are a VC fund that invests and focus mainly in pre-seed software startups. You guys prioritize founder speed of execution above all else, per the name Hustle. I'm
Yeah.
curious, how did you first find out about an opportunity at the Hustle Fund?
Yeah, so this is a kind of a non-linear journey to Hustle Fund. So one of the startups I work really closely with, Flow Club, they host online co-working sessions, and I was lucky enough to host a session that Elizabeth Ian came to. And I remember in that hour-long session, she had a goal of doing like 200 emails or something, and everyone else is like, "No way! Like you can't do that many emails in an hour." At the end of 50 minutes, she's like, box checked, 200 emails done. And I was like, "Whoa! I need to follow this woman. She's a powerhouse." So I started following her on Twitter, and I learned about Angel Squad, this angel investing community that Hustle Funds created. And she does these epic. I mean, anyone who's listening and listens or follows Elizabeth knows she does these epic tweet storms. And I really started learning more about angel investing through her. So in the summer of 2021. I decided, I want to get more serious about angel investing. I've been, about a year in, and decided to jump in as a member of Angel Squad. And then 3 months in, I got on a call with the person who founded Angel Squad, Brian Nichols, and he mentioned there was an opportunity to work more closely with their team, help them grow their amazing community while learning along the way. So that's how I got involved. And I think I was initially attracted to Hustle Fund because my angel investing thesis is to support founders from and or supporting underrepresented communities. And Hustle Fund so aligned with that, right? Like great founders can look like anyone and come from anywhere, and same thing with investors. So there was just great kind of mission alignment that drew me in.
I love what you and your team are building at Hustle Fund. It's been amazing to see, just how vibrant the community is and continuing to grow as well. So now let's talk about your time angel investing. You began angel investing in 2020, which of course was a crazy time. But now, since then, you have made over 30 angel investments. Before we talk about some of those investments, let's just ask the leading question: what are some common misconceptions of angel investing? Because I know I'm always talking to my peers, and they're like, I don't know if I want to get started just yet. I don't think there's that one specific age or time when you can or should get started. So what are some common misconceptions that you've heard about angel investing?
Yeah, yeah. I think some of them I've heard and experienced myself, right? So there are several. One is just around the price point. How much does it cost to get started as an angel investor? How much of a network you need to already have to be an angel investor? So
Mhm.
maybe like just starting with those two things. I remember like some of the first calls that I got on with founders. I'd ask towards the end of the call, what's the minimum to get started as an angel investor with you? And they'd say 10K or 25K. And initially I was like, again, imposter syndrome. I'm like, okay, that's the number. So just don't ask for anything lower. Now I know, okay, but like, what if I only write 5K checks or 2.5K checks? So people are willing to come down from those numbers they state. The
Hmm.
other piece is syndicates, right? A lot of angels get started by investing through syndicates, through platforms like AngelList, where there's a syndicate lead that shares their deal flow with a group of investors, which brings more capital to founders and also lets people learn as they're getting started if they find a great lead. So I think the price point to get started is not nearly as high as I thought it was. And the other piece is, if you're investing through a syndicate, it's even lower. It can be as low as $1,000 per deal.
I think that's wonderful advice just about asking. You'll never, even if you receive a no, I mean, it's always best to just continue to ask because you never know if that no can turn into a yes tomorrow or another time. So that's really good advice.
Totally. Yeah. And I think the other piece is around the syndicate investing, right? You don't have to have deal flow if you're working with a
Mhm.
lead that provides deal flow. Two of my first angel investments came through someone who was leading a syndicate for the first time. And it's been really cool to see those investments go on and raise subsequent rounds of capital. But that was my entry point in a lot of ways, was not just the direct investing, but through syndicates. So you don't have to already have this amazing network, be plugged into the Silicon Valley, like,
Mhm.
I don't know, cool kids, whatever you want to call
No,
it.
I mean, I totally agree. I think that's a huge misconception. I have to be a billionaire. I have to have, place in this circle. I need to have all this credibility. But I mean, people need to really understand that they can get started immediately and of course build that track record over time, build that credibility. And as you continue to angel invest, and your circle will of course grow as well. I want
Yeah.
to break down your angel investing process as well, because just like at your day job, along with angel investing, you are investing at a very, these companies are small, maybe sometimes this is even pre, heavy revenue. So I'm curious, from the moment that you have a meeting with the company, what types of questions are you asking the founder? What are you trying to figure out before you make the decision to invest?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I will say I'm answering more so as an angel investor than as an employee of Hustle Fund, because I
Hmm.
think angel investors and VCs look for different outcomes, right?
Hmm.
While everyone wants big outcomes, VCs are notorious, not necessarily in a bad way, but they're known for focusing on backable, venture scale deals that can 100x plus,
Hmm.
whereas angels may use different criteria, right? So when I'm talking to a founder, there are things that I want to know. Really, first and foremost, I want to connect with the founder. Some of the startups I work with have pivoted 10 plus times. So the idea isn't necessarily going to stay the same. So I want to understand how they work, why they're doing the work that they're doing, why they're doing it now, to really understand timing. Going back to Bill Gross's why companies succeed framework. So the founders is really important to the founders. Beyond that, I'm really interested in to get into the nitty gritty, the unit economics of the deal. So how are they thinking about how much it costs to acquire customers for their company? What's the LTV for those customers? How long is it going to take to pay back the cost of customer acquisition? And I think a lot of that comes from my customer success background, right? And maybe the founder obsession comes from the people ops and hiring part of my background. I think those are kind of my two I don't know, like zones of genius, maybe like areas I've gotten to focus on throughout my career. So I start with my strengths when I'm thinking about investing and in the founders and in customer success. Beyond that, I'm definitely interested in the idea, the defensibility of that idea. Is it unique? If so, how is it unique? How are you going to maintain that uniqueness, that moat around the product, the idea? And then the market, right? The market size. Looking for something that's over $100 million in market size, ideally more, which isn't usually a problem when you're looking at decks. But those are a few of the things that I'm looking for when I'm assessing a deal.
Yeah, no, I love hearing those. And just to kind of break a few of those down again, you mentioned you look specifically for the unit economics of, a company and also the market. You're interested in how the founder, their past experiences, and, if you really believe that they can continue to build. No matter what, I just think before you get into angel investing, you need to develop, that list of principles that you're going to look for. So again, before just jumping in blindly, I think everybody should maybe just create a list of the things that are most important to them. Some of them are going to be some of the same things that you just mentioned, but regardless, I mean, I love how there are many points of your answer where you said, I mean, these are things that are important to me. These are things that I'm always going to
Totally.
check. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And it's different from investor to investor, right? One of the
Hmm.
reasons that I thought Hustle Fund was such an interesting company to work with is that each of the GPs are able to invest without the explicit permission of the other GPs in the
Hmm.
initial deal. So I think that brings a lot of variety and diversity to the deals because they do care about things in slightly different ways or orders, right? So I think that's really important. And Angel Squad, one of the things that we do is share the Hustle Fund deal assessment framework with everyone to kind of show how we think about fundraisability, execution, market idea, team. But we encourage everyone to really use that as a jumping off point to create something that's customized for them based on their experience, because we do have so much unique experience in the community.
Of course. So loved hearing about the things that you look for specifically, before making a deal. I kind of want to flip the script a little bit and talk about, what you believe founders want your support with. So, if you have
Mm.
an opportunity to angel invest in a company, which you have, I mean, 30 times over, what are founders getting, from the experience of working with you? And also how like hands-on are you? And like, do you think angel investors have to be? Is it more like you just kind of throw the money in and it goes where it goes? Or, I mean, are you meeting often with the companies that you invest in for updates, support, et cetera?
Yeah, I think it really depends on what the company needs, what stage they're at, and what they're looking for. Every founder is so different. I've gotten to invest in companies that are pre-revenue, pre-customer, where they are looking for a lot of hands-on help. And I get to meet with those folks more regularly, or maybe I'm one of the first angels in. So part of my job is to bring other angels into the deal or make intros to other investors. But there are just as many companies, if not more companies, where there are more experienced angels around, or maybe I'm investing through a syndicate. So it's not, um, I mostly focus on giving them capital and getting out of the way, supporting them as a customer or by sharing online, right? Versus being super involved directly. In terms of my skill set, my background, as I mentioned, customer success, hiring. So I think those are two areas where I can be most helpful. I've talked to founders about their onboarding flows and
Hmm.
making different experiments throughout onboarding, about hiring, building job descriptions, where to look, who to look for, questions to ask, the process to use for hiring. Because at Animals, we hired probably like over 200 content marketers in my time there. So those are a couple of the things that I'm able to help with. And then on the ops side, really lucky in my new role at Golden Wok to work with a founder who's building a marketplace from the ground up. So one of the things I'm helping him with right now is automations, like just trying to understand, how do you want to be spending your time? How are you spending your time currently? And how can I help you focus more on the things you want to be spending time on? So a lot of this first month of working together has just been like setting up zaps, right? Testing things out, getting feedback from customers, and giving him time back so we can think about productizing
Hmm.
instead of Flintstoning the marketplace he's building.
Of course, no, totally makes sense. So Haley, I also want to break down what the current investing space looks like, for an angel investor, and what you believe will look like, in 5 to 10 years. The unfortunate truth is, there probably aren't a lot of angel investors that look like you. And then also myself, I'm curious, let's speak specifically for the lack of women that we're seeing, angel investing currently, and why you think this is, and how you're thinking that we're going to be able to change this. Is it more people, individuals like you, kind of almost, investing in public, being able to share this, talk about it to show everybody that anybody can do this? I'm curious, what you think the space will look like in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, totally. And I guess for people who are listening to this, I am a woman, I'm Black, I'm also a single mom. So I have pretty strong feelings about this and bringing more women into the ecosystem, more BIPOC folks into the ecosystem. Um, I think there are a lot of reasons for the current challenges. There's also a lot that's being done to try to bring more investors in, accredited or unaccredited. I think in terms of women not necessarily being as active as men as angel investors, I do think that's going to change in a big way in the next 5 to 10 years as people just get more comfortable in talking about their financial situations with each other, and as more platforms come out, like Elvest, for example, like designed for women
Mhm.
investors, right? To be able to learn more and see representation in the ecosystem. One of the things we talked a bit about at Hustle Fund is that women tend to be more conservative financially, and I've definitely found this
Hmm.
within my friend group. I don't know if you've explored this, Landon, with some of your friends. In talking with friends about angel investing, they're like, okay, I'm like iffy on alternative asset classes. They might group angel investing with like crypto
Sure.
as being super risky, which it definitely can be, but it isn't quite. People say 90% of startups fail. I think it's closer to like 70%. So just putting it out there. But I think like a big part of what's emerging now, I mentioned platforms like Elvest, but also communities. Angel Squad's an example of that. But there's also, I think, Black VC, BLK VC,
Mhm.
that's trying to bring more Black investors into the ecosystem. I think Vitalize Angels is doing a lot to bring non-accredited investors in. And then, these crowdfunding platforms also are raising awareness around opportunities to angel invest. So I think in some ways, capital becoming more commoditized and retail investing becoming more popular is a positive movement for people trying to get in. The challenge I see is really around education. Like we talked a little bit about that, but just having people around you that are going to be able to both assess deals and help you assess deals and give high quality deals to people that are coming in to the ecosystem to improve the odds of success. So I think platforms and communities are going to be really important. People being more open. One of our Angel Squad members, who's also in a New York Times article, tweeted like, I don't know, a couple months ago, like, ladies, flash that cash, and I think angel investors get ragged on a little bit for maybe being overly public in sharing that they are angel investors. But what she highlighted there was that it's really important for women to show that they
Yeah.
are, because
Yes.
that normalizes it, right? And
Mhm.
then more people start doing that, and there's visibility, and then people ask questions. And, I think even people who are on the more conservative side will get to a place where, okay, maybe they weren't early adopters, but they will start to see there is a path to success and outsized outcomes through angel investing. So those are a few of the ways that I think this will change over
Right.
time. I'm super hopeful. I think the other piece is more female founders, more
Yep.
Black founders. Like it's symbiotic relationship. I think as both investors increase and as founders increase, that's going to kind of raise the bar for everyone across the board.
Yeah, no, I love your perspective. I think it's very reminiscent of a butterfly effect where unfortunately we're not going to see changes tomorrow, but if we continue to educate individuals, show them that this is possible, get them, involved in unique communities that are already building, within the angel investing space, and more people will begin to really feel more comfortable doing this. So I really love
Yeah.
the points that you made. In speaking about education, of course, I'd love for you to be able to share some resources that maybe you used, and read or listened to. Hopefully this podcast will become a resource for an individual in the future. But I mean, things that you tapped into before you began angel investing that you'd recommend people check out.
Yes, for sure. I was really lucky to be introduced to Mac the VC by the founder of Golden Wok and Animals, Walter Chen. So he was like one of the first people I talked to and really gave me the courage to lean more into this idea of exploring angel investing and maybe a career in venture. He recommended Jason Calacanis's book Angel, so it was probably the first that I read in the space. But I went on to read, Venture Deals by Brad Feld. I think Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke has been really helpful because when you're angel investing, unlike a lot of other parts of your life or career, you're not trying to make sure that everything is perfect. You're trying to make sure that you get at least one outsized return in your portfolio of 10, 20, 100 companies. So the idea of betting has become like more common for me over the last year or so. Jamie Melzer, who's also in Angel Squad, put together this fantastic library of resources that she shared on Twitter. Happy to share that in the show notes if that's a thing that you do.
Of course.
And then just talking to people. So Sacra, the first company I invested in, is a private market research company. And I was really lucky, 10 days into angel investing, to be dropped into their community to meet with people who were 10, 15, 20 years further along in the journey than I was. Some of my friends make fun of me because I will literally reach out to anybody that I'm curious about on Twitter. Hi, Landon. And just be like, hey, can we talk? Can we spend 30 minutes talking about Web3, for example? So I just try to be a curious beginner and to be really honest about the things that I don't know, to seek out conversations through social learning. That's been huge. But yeah, there's so many resources out there. I think I should have said number one, follow Elizabeth Yen on Twitter, because she just drops so much knowledge,
So much.
both there and through our Small Bets newsletter. But yeah, those are a few of the resources that have been helpful.
Yeah, love your point on reaching out to people. More people are willing to help than you would think. I tell people that all the time because a lot of people are always curious how I get, this guest on my shows, and it's just simple reaching out, especially during this crazy stuff that we're seeing, that's going on in the world. I think there are a lot of people willing to help because there was also someone that helped them when they got started, whatever they're doing, and they want to be able to give back. So,
no, I think that's so spot on, and I feel like the tech ecosystem in general is in just a different. It's so much more open. That's one of the things that Brad Feld talks about in startup communities. Actually, he talks about how much more open startup communities are and how willing people are to help if you reach out, which I've just loved. I kind of feel maybe less some of the worst stuff. Tech is already living in the future that I envision. That's a little bit less separated, and where things that we're maybe emphasizing now matter less. The future I believe in is one in which we don't have to talk about bringing more women or Black people into startups because we're already here and everyone accepts it and it's on to the next thing. So, but I think the open aspect of startups and tech is really what makes that possible.
It's a wonderful space and great time to be in it for sure. So last question I have for you, Haley, because obviously we have so many 20 somethings that tune in, but a lot of those 20 somethings are ambitious founders looking for angel investors, and they're really tuning in, excited to, obviously hear about your experiences. If you kind of just want to share some spaces that you're really interested in right now, anything that we could help, with sending deal flow your way, I think my audience would appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Hustle Fund invests primarily in B2B SaaS. So, and that's my experience too from running a B2B SaaS content marketing agency. So big focus there. But talking a bit more about the future that I envision, it's really built around solving for a lot of the things that I've experienced or seen team members experience in my time as a leader. So future of work is huge, improving how people work and just making lives better through that is really important. Healthcare, I think there have been a lot of tough experiences with healthcare, both for me, friends, et cetera. So seeing a better future there, super important. So those are a couple of the spaces beyond B2B SaaS that I'm really passionate about and focused on.
Awesome. Well, Haley, just want to say thank you so much for spending some time with me on the show. This was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and I'm obviously going to have to listen to this a few more times just because I want to continue to get involved in angel investing. So I just want to say thank you so much.
Thanks, Landon. This has been awesome. Take care.